My name is Gary Brado, and I'm a documentary filmmaker and an entrepreneur. The economy is in less than perfect shape, and when the jobs go away, there's nothing left to do but get up and get creative. And there are people all over America doing just that. It's estimated that up to 85% of new businesses fail. So I'm going coast to coast to hear the personal stories of the people who beat the odds and started a successful business from the ground up. This is Startup.
I'm on West Park Avenue in St. Louis, Missouri, and we're gonna go talk to Dawn, who created Made for Freedom, a clothing company that employs only victims of human trafficking. Let's go hear her fascinating story. Human trafficking is the trade in people, and it does not necessarily involve the movement of a person from one place to another. In 2010, human trafficking represented an estimated $31.6 billion in international trade. Being a strong advocate for human rights, Dawn made a commitment to do everything possible to help the victims of human trafficking. So she decided to create a business that would not only sustain her life, but also the lives of many of the survivors of this horrific crime. Tell me about yourself, your history, a little bit about your past.
I'm Dawn Mansky, formerly Dawn Williams, from St. Louis and love international travel. I spent 10 years living in China.
Did you go to college?
I did go to college.
Okay, and what did you study?
I studied elementary education. After I graduated, I took off to China. I taught English for several years, and then I was a program director at the International Church in Beijing.
So do you speak fluent, is it Mandarin?
我会说普通话。你听得懂吗? The things that I did learn about in China that were really different and that kind of helped with the foundation of Made for Freedom was I started really understanding devaluation of the girl child. When you go and into a country where people don't value girls nearly as much, I would visit orphanages and they would be full of little girls that had just been abandoned. I heard the stories and I met children that had been taken from a very poor village and brought into the big city by someone they called an uncle. And that man would use them as slave labor.
Talking about sex trafficking, where did that come into play in your push and motivation to that issue?
Actually, when I was in grad school, we were introduced to an organization called IJM that goes in and rescues women. And there was a presentation, and it was an undercover reporter that went to Cambodia, and he went in asking for young girls. They brought in several girls. They said they were 10 years old, but they looked like they were closer to 6 or 7. And for $10, they were offering yum yum, which is oral sex. And when I saw 7-year-old girls being used as sex toys for men, I just thought, okay, what can I do? This is so evil, this is so wrong. I live in St. Louis, how can I make an impact in Cambodia? I don't know what to do. And it was something that weighed heavily on me for years. And I was invited on a research trip to India, and I came face to face with girls that had been taken from their families, sold into sex slavery, and then had been rescued.
Walk me through the whole process of how you decided to get involved.
It started with a pair of pants. So that's the only answer I've got, Yeah. I found these pants in Thailand, super comfortable. I fell in love with them, had never seen them in the United States, and I thought, I'm gonna get some of these pants. And they're fisherman pants. I was wearing them and started getting compliments from women all over the place. People in coffee shops, hospitals, everywhere. Women would come up and say, those look so comfortable. And I thought, I could start a business selling these pants.
So how did you put the pieces together with the pants?
A friend of mine came up with the name Made for Freedom, and I thought that's perfect. But what we did was I started talking to designers, I started talking to people in the fashion industry, and fisherman pants are very loose fitting, very comfortable, but they're very baggy in the back. And so what we did was we changed the pattern, because having all the bagginess in the back is not very flattering and it's not good. So we changed the pattern, and therefore we changed the name.
Yeah.
So our pants are actually called Korea Bellies, and that is taken from creating a beautiful life.
Now, what do you think about Dawn and Made for Freedom and that whole line? And talk about how you guys first met and kind of the whole relationship.
Well, I heard about Dawn's project through Arch Grants when she won that, and read the story, and then I met with Dawn, and I don't think I've ever teared up with a vendor that I've met with, but when she was telling the story,
Yeah.
we're all here to make a living, but when you can help other people, especially that are in such horrific situations, I mean, whatever we could do, of course we'd have her on board. And then the product's great on top of it.
What did you know about the pants before you came in? Did you know any of the social aspect or the history of how they were made and why?
Well, I had heard about Made for Freedom and their cause behind it, and I just really wanted to be a part of that as far as helping young women that are caught in sex trafficking, and so I just wanted to support that.
Remember, when writing your business plan, it's better to underestimate your profits and be pleasantly surprised than to overestimate your abilities and be disappointed.
We have a sex trafficking issue in our country. We have a sex trafficking issue around the world. It's very important to us as an Arch Grants entity to be aware of where there are opportunities for us to blend the social benefit with the for-profit, and Made for Freedom is working very hard to connect those two in a way that is sustainable, that allows her to create jobs, and that puts St. Louis on the map as having a solution as you take women out of this terrible situation. This could potentially be one model that we hope would be one of many.
So it's not just about money. There's a level of social responsibility that exists in your organization when it comes to deciding whether or not to fund.
Absolutely. And the management team at Made for Freedom is very strong.
Yeah.
They were an impressive group. There are other people in this community who've worked with them who vouched for their character. This was not an investment made without a great deal of discussion, because it is sort of a new space for us. But Dawn has been an outstanding ambassador for Arch Grants and for Made for Freedom, and we're very hopeful that her business model proves to be profitable, and that the women who come through it prove to have those life-changing experiences that Dawn is so committed to creating.
This is a pair of the Korea Bellies, and if I were to purchase these for my wife, which I did,
Yes?
how would she go about tying them, or how would we even learn? So
Well-
unless do you go with each pair bought to the home?
I do. I go and I illustrate. I'll show you first, and then I'll show you how it works.
Okay.
So, fisherman pants, this is how you tie and untie. Ours are Korea Bellies, but this is the same kind of tie as fisherman pants.
Okay.
So you have a belt. That, you always start with it in the back.
Okay.
That's the problem that people have. They try starting with a string in the front. And so one size fits many.
Okay.
You can gain 5 pounds, lose 5 pounds, it's all good. And then you fold them over
Okay.
and you tie them, and then it comes around. And then what I do is I do a single knot or a single bow loop like that, and then I tuck them up here.
So they don't dangle.
I don't want a little string dangling. And then you fold them down.
When starting a clothing company, you should have a clear idea of what demographic you're catering to. It's difficult to start a brand that has too many focuses. What did you originally think of the concept upon meeting Dawn and learning about this and the purpose and the cause? What was your kind of original take on it?
The thing I really liked about it was just being able to watch my wife grow and kind of blossom into it. And so anything that would do that for her was going to be important to me, but just her heart and passion for reaching out for those that just don't have an advocate to speak for them really spoke a lot to me as well.
The people who were consulting me said, you need a lot of money to do this. In fact, it was about $1 million. And I thought, I can't do that. The original plan was to find a good factory in India, get the pants made, sell the pants, and give 20% of our net profit back to life skills and job training. We didn't have enough money to even get a small order in India. because we had 12,000. So that kind of forced me into either I hang on to this money until I get more, or I find another way to get them produced or manufactured. And I was connected with a center. So it's a restoration center in Thailand. Women that are rescued from sex trafficking are brought into there. They're provided with counseling, education, a safe place, and life skills. And at this particular center, they learn how to sew. And I thought, oh my goodness, they're learning how to sew. And so they did some sample pairs for me. And so it's actually not the girls at the center, but they're graduates. But once they graduate, they need a job, they need a way to support themselves, and they need dignified employment.
Sure.
So that's where we come in, and they work on projects. And so they're working on our pants. Our t-shirts are actually made in Calcutta at a center very similar that are working with survivors. We're putting together patterns for bags and different products that the women can sew as they are looking for jobs, which allows them to support themselves.
What are you roughly at per unit versus, I mean, are you profitable on it?
We're at a price point where we should be able to be profitable soon. I could go to a sweatshop and get these for a fraction of the price that I'm paying, but we're about dignified employment. We're about providing a better life for people, not driving them into poverty.
And unfortunately, in the world that we live in today, to produce in a dignified way every step of the way usually shrinks the margin.
It does.
Unfortunately.
And we're giving 20% back. So
you have an uphill climb, but you probably sleep really well at night.
I do. I do.
There are a million ways to start a business, but how did Dawn do it? Let's find out. She started with around $50 in the bank, a near perfect 800 credit score. She funded the business with her personal savings, an arts grant loan, and Indiegogo. In her first year, Made for Freedom took a $500 loss, although she hopes to be profitable in 2014. Dawn said that what it really takes to make it in business is passion. Dawn's passion for changing the world allowed her to dream up a socially responsible clothing company. And it looks to me like she's sewn together a pretty buttoned up business. It's not unrealistic to think that you could do the same thing. After all, Dawn wakes up in the morning and still just puts her pants on one leg at a time. For more information, log on to our website and click the link for Made for Freedom.
Yeah, let's do another option for you. Let's see, this might be a little bit more your color.
This one fits perfect. Oh, it feels good too.
Like it was made for you.
I feel very free.
What? So I know we're on opposite sides of the fence, but why do you always gotta balk about what you do, huh?